Hey guys, Grant Baldwin here. Today we're going to be talking about 7 different tips to help you figure out your speaking fee. Now, let's be honest, speaking is a great gig. I know that because I've spoken to over 500,000 people at hundreds of conferences and events and businesses all over the past decade. You get to travel the world, share your message with thousands of people, and change people's lives for the better. Now, most speakers generally prefer to get paid for their efforts, which I highly recommend, but figuring out how much you should charge for your talk can sometimes seem a little bit daunting. Now, I don't know about you, but I like to eat and live indoors. Those things are important to me. Therefore, I like it when people give me money for my talks. So how do you figure out what your fee should be? Do you just charge whatever feels right, or do you charge it based on the client's budget, or does your level of experience matter? Do you need to have a bunch of free gigs under your belt before you can justify getting paid? We're going to answer all those questions and more, so let's dive right in. Tip number 1 is this, that you don't need to do free gigs first. One of the biggest myths in the speaking business is that you need to speak for free a bunch of times before that you can start charging. That's really not necessarily true. You can get paid on your first real speaking engagement. Now, I know this because that's what I did. My first legit speaking engagement, I was paid $1,000 to speak one time. Now, there's a caveat here, and that is that you have to actually be a decent speaker. It doesn't mean you have to be the world's best speaker, but you can't expect to never have spoken in front of people at all to charging 4 figures for a talk. That's probably not going to happen. Now, in my case, I had been a youth pastor. I'd done some speaking at church events over the years, so I had a little bit of experience there, but I'd never gone out and been formally paid until I got that first gig. Which leads us to tip number 2. All of your experience matters. You see, the reason I was able to charge for that first gig that I booked was that I had a lot of presentation experience through my job. Not only was I speaking to the church youth group where I led, but I also had worked for a company doing a few school assemblies as well. And so these roles gave me some great experience speaking in front of other people. So when I got paid that $1,000 for that very first engagement, I was able to deliver the value that they were expecting. See, speaking experience can come in a variety of different forms. If you had routinely led meetings at work, or you have a lot of experience, let's say, hosting Facebook Live events, or getting up in front of your church to share an announcement, all of that counts. And remember, when it comes to experience, it's not just speaking on experience on stage that matters. If you've been a successful executive for 20 years and you're looking to start booking gigs as a leadership speaker, those 2 decades of workplace experience absolutely matter. Now, ultimately, you need to couple those leadership skills with presentation skills if you want your speaking business to grow. But yes, those years that you've put in becoming an expert at what you do absolutely matter. Now, when it comes to your experience, make sure that you weigh everything when determining your fee. Consider the amount of public speaking that you've done to that point, as well as your level of expertise with that subject matter. Tip number 3 is to always consider your market. Many speakers wrongly assume that experience or talent is the biggest variable in determining your speaking fee, but it's just not true. The market that you are speaking to is the #1 factor in determining your fee. The nature of the speaking industry is that you can charge more in some industries compared to others. For example, you can charge more speaking at a corporate conference versus at a nonprofit. You can charge more speaking to colleges versus high schools. And you can charge more speaking at association events compared to churches. This is why it's so important to know what industry you are marketing yourself to as a speaker. You need to focus on a specific market because these are the folks that are actually going to hire you and hand you the check after your talk. And again, I shouldn't have to tell you this, but getting paid is a good thing. Now, how do you know what range of fees that you can charge in your market? Well, that is tip number 4, is to learn what other speakers charge. In almost every case, your speaking fee is going to fall in line with what other speakers are getting in that particular market. If possible, you want to make connections with other speakers who give talks in the industry that you want to speak in. Now, not only might they be able to get you leads down the road, but they may also be able to help you determine what your fee should be. Even if you can't make personal connections right away, you can always research other speakers by contacting them through their website and maybe asking them what their fee would be. Some speakers even publicize it while others make it far harder to find, but with a little legwork, you can usually find out what that speaking fee would be. So early in my speaking career, I charged $1,500 plus travel for up to 3 presentations in one day in the youth market. Now, I landed on that number after talking to a number of other youth speakers who are serving that same market. And so from there, I raised it numerous times as my experience grew, as the number of gigs that I did grew. But the number I started with was largely based on feedback of other speakers that I had built relationships with. Tip number 5 is to have solid marketing materials. Now, when we talk about marketing materials, we're not directly talking about your speaking fee, but we are talking about something that can be the deciding factor in whether or not you get booked for a gig. Oftentimes, decision makers are looking at several different speakers for one speaking slot. So if you're all in a very similar ballpark on fees, your marketing materials could be the deciding factor. So the questions you want to ask yourself as you're considering your marketing materials are things like this. How does my website look relative to other speakers? Does my demo video do a good job of showcasing why I'd be great for this event? Does the overall feel of my brand convey a sense of professionalism and excellence? Whether we like it or not, we all judge books by their covers, and decision makers judge speakers by their marketing materials. So if your website sucks, they may assume that you may suck as a speaker. It's sad, but it's true. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to have spent tens of thousands of dollars on a website or a demo video. You can still have a really sharp site or a video done relatively inexpensively. But if you're gonna charge $5,000 for a speaking gig, your materials should look good, if not better, than other speakers at that price point. You see, at the end of the day, if your marketing materials are subpar, they're eventually going to cost you some gigs. You don't want to ignore them or try to convince yourself that they don't matter, because they do. Now, yes, some speakers are so good at what they do that they continue to book gigs in spite of their terrible marketing materials, but why make the degree of difficulty even harder on yourself? Spend the money, spend the effort to get them right up front, and you'll reap the benefits of your work over and over again. Tip number 6 is to look for other ways to earn value. You see, I firmly believe that quoting a fee of $1,000, even if you're just getting started, is a great way to go. Honestly, when you start going lower than $1,000, people generally won't take you that seriously. Now, what happens though if you quote someone $1,000 and they tell you they only have $500 in the budget? Is it okay to accept less than your fee, even if it's half of your fee? Now, it can work, and here's why. You see, there's a lot of ways that a speaker can get value from an event beyond just a check. You may take less if the client can introduce you to some other potential clients, or maybe it's just a cool destination that you want to turn it into a vacation with your family. Ask the client if they can comp you an extra night or two at the property instead. Sometimes you can ask for marketing help as well. So if the client will provide you with really good footage of your talk that you can use for a demo video, that could be worth thousands of dollars to your business. Or perhaps you could ask if you could sell products or services at the event. You see, there are a lot of ways to earn value even if you lower your fee at an event, so don't be afraid to ask for it. This brings us to the final main factor in determining your fee. Tip number 7 is this: remember that people are not paying for you. For many new speakers, quoting a fee to a potential client can seem awkward or almost even like cocky at first, because it may feel like you're saying, hey everyone, this is what I think I'm worth. But here's the thing to remember. You're not just selling you. The fee that you're quoting is not what a client is paying for you. It's what they are paying for the results and the outcomes that your talk will deliver. So you want to keep that in mind when you're setting your fee. Clients are not just paying for your time or your presence. They're paying for a solution to the problem that you can help solve. So when you believe that there is value in your talk, if you know it's going to help people, then you should feel confident setting your fee and quoting that fee. I can attest to the fact that the first time you get paid for speaking is just completely mind-boggling. Like, how could they pay you anything to do something that you do for free anyway? It seems totally crazy. I get that. But remember, you are bringing value to the client and their audience, so you don't want to be afraid to get paid for what it is that you do. Your work matters. The world needs to hear your message, and you need to be compensated accordingly. See, at the end of the day, if you deliver for your client, they will happily hand you a check for what it is that you've asked. Okay, so those are the 7 tips to help you set your fee, but I know you're thinking, because I can read your mind thanks to a freak dodgeball accident when I was a kid, you're thinking, that's great, Graham, but you still haven't told me, like, how much should I charge? The truth is, I can't give you an exact number. I mean, I could. I think we'd both know that would probably be irresponsible of me. You seem like a really amazing person, but I just don't know all the specific details about your experience and your market and your talent level. But here's the good news. We've come up with a solution for you to figure this out on your own. And you can use this tool over and over again each time you have a new speaking opportunity that comes your way. Now, I'm going to tell you more about that in just a second. If you're looking for some general ranges about how much you can charge in different markets, here's what I found. If you're a new speaker or you're speaking in the education or college space, you can generally charge anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. If you're an up-and-coming corporate speaker, you can charge anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. More experienced professional corporate speakers can usually charge anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. Best-selling authors, athletes, B-list celebrities can charge anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000, with A-list celebrities charging more than $50,000, way up from there. It's crazy, right? Now, early in the video, I mentioned a tool that I've created to help you calculate your speaking fee. It is called the Speaking Fee Calculator. Creative, right? So you're going to find the link in the description below to this video. But before you check that out, if you found this video helpful, make sure that you click like below, let other people know about it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos with more tips and thoughts on building a successful public speaking business. Also, leave a comment below. Let me know what you charge for your first paid speaking gig. I'll be reading those comments. Can't wait to read yours. We'll see you in the next video.